Hannibal Lecter were to make his kinky little suit out of her skin, he would be a sorry man. Hi, hello, and welcome back to another knitting podcast. I'm Eva, I'm a knitter from Germany, and today we're gonna try and make this a quick one because I am meeting friends to go to the yarn store. So I have exactly 29 minutes as of now. Let's get this done. The first item that I would like to talk about is this porcelain sweater. I have just started the second sleeve, and the only thing that's missing apart from that is the collar. Now, I am making this for my best friend because she is turning 30 next week, and I'm quite optimistic that I can get this done until Thursday so that I can still block it before we leave for our weekend trip on Friday. Let me talk about the yarn first. This is Drops Charisma, and my problem is, I think I've addressed this, I cannot tell whether a yarn is scratchy or not, because to me every yarn is non-scratchy. I have never touched a yarn that I personally would think could be scratchy. And my friend has very, very, very sensitive skin. If Hannibal Lecter were to make his kinky little suit out of her skin, he would be a sorry man. And I've talked to my mother, who has also very sensitive skin, and she has knit a very beautiful colorwork sweater out of Drops Charisma, and she cannot wear that. She's gonna give it to me. But unfortunately, I believe that this sweater might be too scratchy for her. So what I've done is I have bought a mock neck long sleeve t-shirt that can go underneath that. And when I make the collar, I'm gonna use, for the inside, I will be using a baby alpaca silk cashmere blend that I've got left over from another project. And I'm gonna be telling her that she's welcome to try if she can still wear it if she likes, but she can give that sweater away to someone else who would like it, and I'm gonna make her another one with a yarn of her choice. And in hindsight, it was kind of dumb to buy that yarn before like subtly trying to find out how sensitive she really is, but we're stuck with that now, and we're gonna try and deal with that. In regard to the pattern, a lot of people have said negative things about the porcelain sweater pattern. I think a lot of people had difficulty with like the colorwork bands on the sleeves being two different heights, which I didn't have that problem. I didn't have many problems at all with that pattern because I didn't really follow the pattern. I purchased a yarn that I thought would fit the gauge, and then it didn't fit the gauge because my tension has loosened up quite a bit over the past year. So instead of 21 stitches, I have now 17 stitches, I believe. And so I had to do a lot of math to find a way to make this still fit. And I've talked to Made by Fiona, she is on YouTube here as well. I have talked to her, and she says that she got the impression that the sizes run very small. She is knitting a porcelain sweater for her dad, and I believe she's making a large, and the large fits her. Like the large fits like a small. And she also said that the designer in the photo is apparently wearing a large, and the designer herself is about a size small. So the large is oversized on a size small, which is misleading because if you are a size large and you make a size large, you would expect that to fit this oversized. So yeah, I do not have that problem because I am using the stitch counts for the smallest size, but that is leaving me with a size large because my gauge is bigger. So that hasn't been a problem for me. The two things I will say about this pattern, actually three things. Three things I will say about this pattern is, first of all, I don't think it's well written. I think all of the directions could be phrased better. It is very wordy without saying much. Like, she's putting directions in these sentences, but I don't feel like I would need them. And in some places, I guess they also don't make a lot of sense. So yeah. I do, however, feel that if you have knit like 2 or 3 sweaters before, if you are familiar with the way that sweaters work, you would totally be able to wing it. I don't think you should be running into any difficulties if you are not that type of person who like zooms in on the instruction and does exactly as told. If you're someone who likes to be a bit more creative with how they use patterns, then I think you should be totally fine. Which brings me to the point that I found strangest about this pattern. So this is a drop shoulder sweater and you start by casting on the upper back edge. And I've knit a fair amount of drop shoulder sweaters because they are my preferred type of sweater. And the way I know it is you cast on a number of stitches and then you do increases every row to make that like flat triangle to fit the shoulders. And you make increases on the knit side and increases on the purl side, like leaning increases. That is how like 5 sweaters that I've made have done it. And that is not how the porcelain sweater does it. The porcelain sweater has you cast on a number of stitches and it doesn't increase by 1 stitch on either side in each row. It increases by like 7 stitches by doing a backwards loop cast on at the end of the row. And that, I think, is the work of a psychopath. Why would you do that? What is the benefit of that? I did do it like the pattern recommended on my first try. And I got these like little stair thingies from where I had done the backwards loop cast on. Like, did the designer not get that? I think she must have gotten that. And if you pick up your stitches along that edge then to make the shoulder, that's gonna give you lumps and bumps. That part of the pattern had me puzzled. And what I decided to do was to calculate how many stitches I would have to have once I'm done with the increases. And then I calculated how many rows of increase I would have to have done if I only increased 2 stitches per row. And then that left me with a bigger number to cast on than the original pattern, but I thought that's probably gonna fit better and look better, and that's the way I did it, and I didn't have any problems. Also, with a drop shoulder sweater that oversized, I don't think like a centimeter anywhere is going to matter much. I think this has like 15 centimeters of positive ease, if I'm not mistaken. And the last thing about this pattern for me personally, I don't think there's anything wrong with the pattern in that regard. I just find the chart for this leafy section, I find it annoying to memorize because the other 2 sections, they're geometric, but that is not. So I have to go like 5 white, 2 blue, 3 white, 7 blue. in like sequences of 7 color changes, and I find it a little exhausting, but I guess that's what color work is. So yeah, I'm just gonna suffer through that, but I only have one more leaf chart to do, and then I can do another geometric chart. So that is the Porcelain Sweater. As always, I have linked all of my Ravelry projects in the box down below. I fear I'm running out of time. So the next thing that I'm making is the Wave Sweater by Spectacle Strick, for whom? Like, Spectacle Strick also designed this mood sweater, and you've heard plenty about that, so I'm not gonna go into that again. But yes, this is the Wave Sweater, and I'm making that out of some leftover yarn and reclaimed yarn. The pink yarn used to be my sweater number 15, which the fit of it I did not like. The armholes were way too deep, so I frogged that entire thing, and the red yarn is just some leftovers. I had to purchase some more of the red yarn, but I'm fine with that because I really like that color combo. So, as you can see, this is a raglan, and you know how I feel about raglans. And this raglan in particular has given me reason for feelings. I have tried this on Instagram in a reel, and when I tried it on, this neck is like supposed to be a kind of mock neck. And when I tried it on, it gave me a bump in the front and in the back. And the back does have short row shaping, but like you can see, this part here, it sticks out. Why does it stick out? I'm gonna drop another hot take here. If you are a full-time knitting designer and you have done knitwear designing for years and you have published a book and you are either fully unable to incorporate any kind of shaping into your sweaters, like with the mood sweater, or you are unable to make your garments fit people, because a lot of people on Ravelry have reported that they get the lumps and bumps. And I'm gonna hold your hand while I say this. You're bad at your job. And you should not be charging money for your patterns. I get that for Spectacle Strick, a big part of why her patterns sell so well is because they look fucking sick. I love how her patterns look. But in the future, I think for me the way to go would be to look at her stuff and then reverse engineer it in my personal way of constructing a sweater. Because I will not be dealing with any more of this shit. I've had it with that lady. So yes. This is also very, very lumpy, and I think that's gonna get better when we block it. And to fix the neck, I am gonna stretch that bitch within an inch to its life to get the lumps out. Also one thing that I've been thinking about is she has that very particular circle of people whose pictures of her designs she reshares. There's this one guy, and I love everything he makes. His stuff is so freaking cool, but why does her stuff fit these people and it doesn't fit us normal people? Because she also doesn't share any stuff from normal people. She only shares stuff that is super aesthetic, and that kind of rubs me the wrong way, you know? Like, are you too good to share an ordinary picture from an ordinary person? So yes, do these people get secret shaping instructions from her? Like, why does it fit them and it fits nobody else? Do they have weirdly shaped bodies? I don't think so. Also one thing, I have made the waves on the upper part a bit shorter, because if I had made the sweater body to its intended length, that would have been a dress on me. Okay, I have short legs, I gotta modify. And then I noticed that if I made the sleeve the same length as the body, that sleeve would have come to like my elbow. So I would have either had to do some absurdly long ribbing, or what I decided to do is I made another wave thing, but now I'm worried that I might end up with some freakishly long sleeves. Like, I'm okay with rolling them once, but if I have to roll them twice, like, that's gonna look stupid. I can appreciate a good float, but not on the outside of my sweater. So yes, I will report back on that one once I've blocked it. Then I have a finished object. This has been finished for a while because I have written a pattern on it, and that pattern is currently in testing. I'm so excited. This is called the Small Stupid Hat, and this is made from some very nice yarn. It is that baby alpaca, cashmere, and silk yarn that I'm going to use on the inside of the collar of the porcelain sweater. And basically this is one of these stupid little hats that don't go over your ears. And I did a folded brim, and I found a way to invisibly sew the brim to the hat, because this is some very slippery yarn. And I feel like with the hat not being very tall in size, things might slip around a bit because your head doesn't hold it in place, it just like sits on top of your head, kind of. And yes, one thing about the pattern, I have a lovely group of testers, and they're so attentive and so smart. And one of them was wondering, like, my decreases here have columns. And what I did was, when I was knitting this hat, I already knew I wanted to write the pattern. So I knit and then I wrote that stuff up. And then I knit and then I wrote. And apparently what happened to me is I mixed up the way I did the decreases. Like, you do them in 4 places, and you place a marker and you do a decrease in front of the marker and after the marker. And what I wrote was slip, slip, knit, slip marker, knit 2 together. And everyone else's decreases were looking differently from mine. So then we had to check, is everyone doing their SSKs the same way, which everyone did. And then I knit a test piece, and I realized I had changed up accidentally the way in which I put my decreases. So it would have had to be knit 2 together, slip marker, SSK, which is very embarrassing. Like, quite a few of my testers had to knit back, and I'm so sorry about that. I feel so bad. I'm so embarrassed. It's such a stupid mistake, but everyone was very nice about it. And some are already making a second hat, which I really hope they like their small stupid hats. Speaking of hats, I have another hat design in the works, and I have been unable to finish it because I ran out of yarn. So when I go to the yarn store today, I am gonna have to attempt and find a similar color, and if I am not successful, I have to order one single skein online, because that exact type of yarn is not local to me. I have to buy it online, but it's my favorite yarn. So yeah, this is Vicolana Peruvian Highland in the color, I think, apple. And what this is going to be, this is going to be a hat with a double folded brim, again, because I love these, and the brim is going to be extra high. And it doesn't have four decrease columns, it's gonna have 8 decrease lines, because you don't make 2 decreases in 4 places, you make 1 decrease in 8 places, which I thought the hat, the design of the hat was gonna fit better. Not like on your head, but with the vibe. So yes, one of the main highlights that I have thought up for this hat is I want this to have like a little noodle on top of the hat. because I thought that could be so cute. And I was talking to my friends about this, and they saw that I was making it in green because green is a lovely color and I like it very much. And then one of my friends said, "You're going to look like a pickle." And at first I was like, could that be a problem? And then I came to the conclusion that is not a problem because I like pickles. And in February, here in Bavaria and in Germany, we have Carnival, and my work does a costume contest for best costume. And I've decided I'm going to dress up as a vegetable garden. I myself will be a cucumber or a pickle, dressed entirely in green with my pickle hat. And I'm gonna crochet a little carrot bonnet for my dog because I always take him to the office. And then I have this huge gray fur coat, fake fur. And I think I could be a moldy pickle. Not sure if that's too unhinged, but I think it's so funny. So yes, this is the single color version of the pickle hat. I haven't decided on a name yet because I want to make a single color version and I also want to make a color version. And the single color version obviously could be the pickle hat, or I also thought a cute name could be Gurke hat, because Gurke means pickle and cucumber in German. And I think this hat also gives a bit of brutalist vibes with like the big brim and then just one tiny detail on top and otherwise like just showcasing the yarn. And there's a, I think, Russian Soviet artist whose name is Maxim Gorky, and Gorky and Gorky, they kind of sound the same. Not sure if that is too far-fetched. That's just what goes on inside my head. But yes, I'm gonna try and finish this single color version, and I've already charted the colorwork version, and I've already got the yarn for the colorwork itself in my stash. And today at the yarn store, I gotta get a background color so I can get started on that. But basically, the brim is gonna have a band of diamond-shaped colorwork, and inside the diamonds are gonna be little flowers, like crocuses. I love crocuses. They're my favorite flower. And I thought like this hat could maybe manifest spring because produce and plants. We'll see about that. But I'm super excited to start the colorwork version of this hat. Also, I hope the tester call that I put out is gonna fall into the same time frame than my next podcast. So I can hopefully tell you about when the tester call is out. Then the next thing is not a knitted thing, but it's a little hack that occurred to me a few days ago when I decided to go to the yarn store. And I have to get yarn for quite a few projects. And for some parts of the projects, I already have the yarn. So for example, I have one yarn where I have the main yarn, but I need to get like a mohair or something to hold with it, so I can make a small scarf. And since I have a bunch of yarn that needs to match the yarn that I'm buying, I made a little book that I can take with me to the yarn store. So the first thing that I have is I have a boucle yarn, and I like a very dense fabric. When I bought the boucle, the lady that was selling it had an example piece with only the boucle, I think knit on 3.5mm needles. And it was good fabric, but I like it to be dense. So I want to get a strand of fingering yarn to hold with it to make the Petite Knit Magi vest in this very lovely summer blue. Also, this is the colors for my colorwork pickle hat, and I gotta get a main color. The gauge is wrong here, but yeah. And this is a Angora yarn that my lovely friend Anna, who also has a knitting podcast for anyone who speaks German, She brought me this from Scotland when she went to Edinburgh, and it's a very lovely Angora yarn in a very springy orange. I think it's orange, like salmon orange. And for that, I want to get a strand of mohair because we want to do a little scarf knit along. So that is going to be fun. That is going to come to the yarn store with me. I just made this out of some scrap paper, like the back side of this is an old sewing pattern. And the last thing, please stay with me, it's a bit unhinged. So I have come into the possession of something that is called Labubu. If you're into K-pop, you probably know them, but they're these like little figures on keychains. And apparently one K-pop singer had one of them on her bag, and then they've gone viral. And they've gone incredibly viral. Like, one of my coworkers bullied our CEO into purchasing a box of them, and the box was delivered to the office over Christmas break. And then one of my coworkers and I went into the office during our Christmas break to retrieve that box because she was worried they might get stolen. That's how viral they are. So yeah, I have been given a Labubu. That name is so silly. This is her. I think her name is Toffee. I don't know. Can she? No, she cannot turn her head. I'm kind of glad her head is not turnable because that would be very creepy. Apparently, they are based on some kind of Nordic mythological creature. Like, that's a bunny. That's not Nordic. And it's got a concerning amount of teeth. But yeah, I didn't get the hype like unboxing this because you don't know which color you're gonna get with all my coworkers. That was a lot of fun. And now I have this as a memory. And the coworker that I went into the office with to retrieve the Labubus, she's obsessed with them. Like, she's got 2 of them now. And you can buy little outfits for them on Amazon, on Etsy. And it's my coworker's birthday next week. And we have also booked a trip to Scotland together, like in our free time, not for work. And we were joking that we were gonna take the Labubus and like take pictures of them in Scotland. And I was joking that I was gonna have to make them Fair Isle sweaters when we go to Scotland, and she really loved that idea, so I will be knitting her Labubu an outfit for our trip to Scotland. I'm probably gonna use some stash yarn that I have. I think hers is green, so I might do a cream colored main color with pink accents. I already have like authentic Fair Isle yarn that is still left over from my Christmas past sweater. And I think since it doesn't matter here whether the sweater fits well or not, I'm gonna do a raglan Fair Isle. Like, the head hole might become a challenge. Maybe they're gonna have to slide into the sweaters from the top because the head is so big. And then I thought I might... Oh, that's my timer. Gotta go. No, just joking. I want to make it a hat, like that goes over the bunny ears and then like that. Because I think that would be funny. Like a hat that goes... Yeah. And maybe if I have time and I'm not already annoyed by knitting on 2.5mm needles, Fair Isle, then I might also make them a fur coat with like knit with regular wool yarn for the main body and then a big fur collar in like brushed alpaca or something. So yes, I... Yes, that is it for me today. I gotta leave to go to the yarn store now. I might do a little haul over on Instagram, so if you want to see that, hop on over. It's linked in the box down below. And please let me know in the comments. First of all, do you know what a Labubu was? Did you know? Like, do you get the hype? Have you ever knit clothing for dolls, toys? How did that go? I would love to hear about that. And also, I heard that the porcelain sweater and the wedge sweater are on a lot of people's Ravelry queues. So I would love to hear if you've got any experience with that and how that went for you. And otherwise, I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. See you next time. Bye!